The draft was Thursday, a couple days ago. We're a couple days removed. Victor Wembanyama, obviously the heralded number one overall pick for since basically the beginning of the season. We knew that this guy was going number one. The hype is there. The hype is real. Generational talent. Chris Broussard saying if he ain't KD, AD, or Hakeem, that's a failure. And last month we found out that Victor would be headed to San Antonio, a great place, a place that when it happened, I was like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, oh, of course he's going to San Antonio. Like it's literally like we should have saw it coming, right? We go from David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Victor. So let's talk about the biggest draft winners. I know probably talking about the Spurs is going to be a little redundant. Everybody, they're the draft winners, right? They won the sweepstakes. So let's hear it. I don't know which one of you guys wants to take it first, but who are the biggest draft winners? Who are the steals, the lottery? Let's talk about it.
Rudy?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about the Rockets, and I'm not trying to be biased, but I do think we are somewhat winners. I think we got a big steal with Cam Whitmore. It's the guy that was projected. I saw top 5. John, you said top 7 before we got started, but
I had him top 5.
You had him top 5? Yeah, so he was up there, and the fact that he fell that hard, I mean, it could be a big blessing for us because we do have some pretty good guys already at that wing position. But you just bring in another one who has that high potential. I don't see how it's in any way like a bad pick. I mean, it can only be described as a great pick in my opinion.
There's no doubt. To me, it was not only getting Cam at 20, but also aiming at 4 because the Rockets need a point guard desperately. I like Ty Washington, but he might just be better served as a spark plug off the bench. Think Cole Anthony with better playmaking, maybe. And the thing was, so many teams were trying to trade back in. The Pacers were the most notable one. Into the teens. The Lakers pick at 17. The Heat at 18. The Warriors at 19. But it wasn't up until the 20th overall pick where the Rockets said, this is ending here. We've got, I think it was Shams reporting because he was on top of everything, including leaking certain betting odds as he works at FanDuel. Shams reported this is where the slide is going to end. It seems the Rockets are lasered in, and I felt like for them, no team got better value. You fill in your starting point guard of the future. You hope that Steven Silas now is not in the picture. Ime Udoka is. He's going to develop Amon, and on top of that, the discipline will help all the other guys who are already in that young core. But to me, I thought one of the biggest draft winners that no one's really given enough shine to is the Utah Jazz. 9th overall pick, they take Taylor Hendricks out of UCF, one of the better 3-and-D wins in this draft class. To me, he's going to be one of the better shot blockers in the league, one of the better three-point shooters. He's got a good amount of athleticism, too. So while he's mostly right now a stationary shooter, at 19 years old, you can see him growing to something more down the line. He's drawn some Jeremy Grant comparisons, but I think a mix of PJ Washington, maybe a little bit of Jaden McDaniels, 2 comps I saw that fit well. Then with the 16th pick to take Keontae George out of Baylor, just one of the best scorers in this class, craft, deception, 3-level scoring. And then at pick 28, you go with another scorer and Bryce Sensabaugh, different body type out of Ohio State. All 3 of these prospects were one and dones, but they have a lot of potential. And really, Sensabaugh at 28, I thought he was a top 20 prospect in this class. So all things considered, Danny Ainge has been one of the best player development guys, one of the best GMs at finding talent in the draft. And this was yet another year where got pretty good value.
I want to ask you guys a question. Either one of you can take it. I'm not, deep into the NBA draft process, the college basketball. I'm going to watch this upcoming season, but that's because Bronny James is coming, and I think that's just going to be must watch. So I watched when Zion was there. I watched when big name guys are coming up. That's when they catch my eye, and I'm like, okay, let me pay attention to this guy, right? So number 2 and number 3, right? There was a lot of rumors heading up that Scoot would have been the guy. Then Brandon Miller kind of came up late, I guess I would say, seeing from outside looking in. Do you think Charlotte made the right decision taking Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson?
No. Brandon Miller in many classes is a worthy top 2 pick. And I think he's going to have a really good career. But there's one thing LaMelo Ball doesn't do that Scoot Henderson does really well. And we see oftentimes in the playoffs, teams that don't get to the rim enough, and this is kind of funny because 2 days ago, Kevin Durant joined a Twitter space, which said he was not top 5 because he lacked this skill, is rim pressure. LaMelo Ball and Scoot Henderson could have been the best backcourt in the league. Now, LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller can be one of the best duos, all things considered. But Miller, to me, might be a worse fit with Ball because they're both guys that don't put a lot of pressure on the rim and are more reliant on jump shooting. And that in the playoffs is always a cause for concern. I also didn't like it because MJ and Mitch Kupchak were making the decision. And if you listen to Mitch Kupchak afterwards, when reporters asked him why he thought Miller was the guy for the Hornets, he rambled on for 4 minutes and didn't even make a single point. And Michael Jordan, meanwhile, after years of picking the wrong prospect in the draft and failing to develop them, Malik Monk traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, took Michael, what's his name? He's from Jersey, I should know this. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist over Bradley Beal in 2012. The history of the Hornets is quite clearly why their fans are not buying into this decision. And while I think Miller is going to have clearly all-star potential, I think there's a limit to his game given there's not much physicality, and he's also not the best finisher around the cup. He's getting better, but he's also going to be a 21-year-old rookie too. Scoot's a full year younger.
Yeah, so John, you know Adam from our show. He's a Steelers fan, but he is a Hornets fan. So he was like back and forth between are they going to trade the pick or Scoot, Brandon, and ultimately I think after they took the Brandon Miller, he was a little disappointed because like me, I feel like you should have just went with Scoot. I feel like you got to figure that out. But Brandon Miller, he's good, but I also feel like he's getting overhyped. I mean, getting these Paul George comparisons, like when I watch his game, I've tried to watch games and not watch highlights, like keyword highlights. We're only seeing the good things that he's doing. I've seen him get smoked defensively, and he's not strong yet. He's already a little bit older. He's got to build up his body, but I don't think he's great attacking off the dribble. He's not that creative, and he's somewhat of a bad shot taker sometimes, and that's kind of how you can describe LaMelo Ball. So that those two on the same team right now, I don't see. It's gonna take some work, man. I don't think right away you're gonna see these guys just explode. I think LaMelo's obviously gotten better, but I would have went with Scoot, man, and that's just my opinion on it.
And it's not like Miller's going to be a bust. Like, people have been really dramatic about it, myself included, because I had a crazy reaction. But it's just, I thought you took the clear third best player when you had the second overall pick. And that clear third best player might have been the worst fit in spite of you thinking he was the better one. I graded it as a B. I thought it was a B decision. The Blazers, though, who got Scoot at pick 3, also got Chris Murray at pick 23. He's Keegan's twin out of Iowa, had a breakout year. Very well-rounded wing who finishes well and can defend fine. Then with the 43rd pick, they took Ryan Rupert out of France who play in the NBL. Rupert could have been a first-round pick. And the Blazers said they had a lottery grade on him. To get 3 first-rounders with only 1 lottery pick and arguably two top 15, two top 14 prospects, I thought the Blazers were the beneficiary of the Hornets making, the most questionable decision of the night.
All right, yeah. I've made from the outside looking in about Brandon Miller, just looking at it and seeing like he struggled against ranked teams, especially in March Madness. He just really didn't show up, in my opinion. And if you're going up against what I perceive to be better teams and better opponents, and you're not showing up, that's kind of cause for pause for me. So let's move on to the next 2 picks. The Thompson twins. I believe this is probably the first time ever that 2 twins have been taken back-to-back, or twins that have been taken in the first round, or whatever the case may be. I don't know about the history of that. We have a Rockets fan on here, so I'm going to give it to him. Amen Thompson to the Houston Rockets. Did they make a mistake? Should they have taken his twin brother? How are you feeling about this pick?
So, did they make a mistake? Hell no, man. This is the guy I wanted from the beginning. And obviously, I would have loved Scoot, but I knew we weren't going to get him. So I was like, let's take Amon Thompson. We need a playmaker, a guy that can also defend multiple positions. And he's super young, man. If he improves his shooting, which guys come into the league and they're going to work on that, I don't see how he doesn't fit with the group of guys that we have. You can't see it, but I'm wearing a KPJ shirt. I love Kevin Porter Jr., but I'm also okay with just putting him on the bench. I think he can be a great six man for us. I look at Jalen Green. I look at Şengün. I think that tandem right there can work. And if you just add another guy who's going to buy in, Thompson looks as coachable as any player I've ever seen. So I love the pick. I love our team. We are a little deep. We're going to talk about the talent and stuff that we have. But as far as making the right pick, I couldn't be more than happy.
I've fallen in love with the Almond pick because he has the athleticism you can't find. The passing with the athleticism that's even more rare. But he and his brother Asor are like basketball geniuses. And I hate to be the guy that's going to use like trivia answers and just reports as my reasoning for this, but these are two great kids that are very coachable. On top of that, they are so in love with the game of basketball that yesterday I was watching a video of him and be asked a trivia question in the pre-draft process. Which player is taken higher in the draft? He hit every single question out the park, was like 14 to 15. Like, who was the higher pick? Giannis or Devin Booker? Guys in completely different draft classes, different conferences, totally random. And you listen to them talk every time a coach discusses their process working with them. It's all been positive feedback. The only criticism for the Thompson twins is the fact that they can't shoot. But when you think of Amon Thompson comparisons, it's like John Morant's 6'6" though, and he's 20 years old, the same age as Ja when he came out. I thought for the Rockets, pairing him up with Şengün especially, who's one of the league's top young passers, really good in the DHO game, could get him and Jalen Green going downhill. And in transition, this might be the most athletic team in the league too, which makes the Rockets more exciting. And with the tools they all possess, you like a coach like Udoka being in here to actually squeeze the most out of them. So I graded this pick at first a B+, but I'm going A here for the Thompson pick, assuming they don't sign James Harden, because I don't think they will do that now. Personally.
Yeah, there's no way. I think all signs are pointing him going back to Philly. But going back to your point about I don't think there's anything wrong with you using that trivia question as part of your argument. Like personally, when I'm talking with basketball with people, I love doing trivia because it lets me know how serious they are when it comes to just knowing the game. Devin Booker being he was drafted 15th overall, right?
14th or 13th.
14th. Okay. Well, if you ask somebody, just a regular person, they'll be like, "Oh, well, I think Devin Booker is probably like a top 5 pick," and he wasn't. Donovan Mitchell, he wasn't. Giannis, he wasn't. Like, so I think it's really cool that he's a historian of some sort.
Absolutely. And also, Brandon, it's interesting. They're not the only pair of twins to be taken back to back. The Morris twins were 13th and 14th in 2011, but I would have to reckon no twins have been taken back to back this high. I mean, 4th and 5th for two guys that didn't go the traditional collegiate route, are a year older than some one and dones. It is one of a kind, and it's nice to see the league shift so much. 2 years ago, Jalen Green came from the G League. So Kuminga. Those are 2 top 7 prospects. Last year, Dyson Daniels, the 8th overall pick out of the G League. Now, this year, you see 2 prospects out of France be taken top 7, and 2 guys that are brothers that are on the same overtime elite squad going back to back. So it's nice to see, kind of like internationally, where there's prospects coming from so many different avenues, that the league is opening up past the NCAA, and it's really fascinating to see this development before our very own eyes.